Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll be getting to the JRC in a moment. First, brief disclaimer. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, all pertinent links can be found right there in the description box. Should you like to do a deep dive on either subject, you're definitely going to be able to go ahead and do so. Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. First off, I do use profanity, and when we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and gets clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people getting tortured and abused. So if you got a child that is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised, alright? Now, like I said, it's going to be a little short. We're just doing 3 comments, so let's just, without further ado, go ahead and jump right back in, alright? Alright, so this one here says, electroshock therapy for autistic people is torture. Torture in the name of crushing human diversity and enforcing a dream of normality that doesn't exist. Thank you. Not just a concept of normality itself, which I would say is not really normal so much as it is actual consensus, which are 2 entirely different things. Besides that, they have this fan-fictionalized idea of what a neurotypical teenager or child should be. And you can kind of piecemeal what exactly that is by reading things like the ABA handbook, by just looking closely at some of the different programs out there. What are they doing exactly? They're trying to take everything that is autistic about us and replacing it with their fan-fictionalized version of neurotypical behavior. There's a lot of reasons why that's not going to work. But one of the biggest ones is one they can't allow themselves to accept. And that is the fact that their idea of what normality looks like, what that general consensus of neurotypical kid behavior is supposed to be like, doesn't even remotely resemble the real thing. So what do you got? You get a kid that, for lack of a better way to put it, is more human than human. More neurotypical than neurotypical. Because it's fan-fictionalized, real neurotypical kids notice it. They notice it right away, as though it is instinct. And you know what? They still don't accept us. But at least we can stand to be around you. Oh, bully for you. How about, some type of treatment program that will actually help me be able to, let neurotypicals be themselves? What would even the equivalent of that even look like? Alright, this is my fan-fictionalized version of what neurotypicalism is supposed to look like. No, you don't get that. Ask any questions, but that's not what it really... No. I'm in charge. This is what a neurotypical kid looks like. So, if you're not acting exactly like this, you're going to see a sea of doctors, perhaps go to several different residential schools, and if you still can't do it, or let's actually make it a real analogy. Like, let's say in place of neurotypical folks, you have autistic people. And the neurotypical kid is just not acting autistic enough to our high expectation. Okay, so we replace their neurotypical things with things such as stimming. Things such as gleeful info dumping. You know? And if they don't measure up to our fan-fictionalized version of being autistic, then we're going to send them into residential schools like the JRC and either try to condition them or torture them into being neurotypical light enough for us. You get what I'm saying here? Where you have to perform like a performing goddamn seal and give them all the scenes that they want, like they're directing a movie instead of helping a human being. Anyways, before I take you all further down left field, it has no place in normalized society. I strongly support banning the use of these devices for such purposes, as well as any similar practices that seek to compel neurodiverse people to act in ways that make neurotypical people more comfortable. See, neurotypicals, what if the world was ran by autistics instead of neurotypicals? And that we demanded that you had to act more autistic in order for us to be comfortable around you. How does that feel? How do you think we feel? All the burden's put on us. Don't get to be yourselves because being yourself is bad. That's the diagnosis and you're letting it win. We need to start having these conversations if we ever want to finally move beyond the more barbaric parts of how people with disabilities are being treated. It's time to start having some very uncomfortable conversations. Because at this point in time, folks, I hate to tell you this, or to be, the bearer of bad news, but the medical model still doesn't understand yet. But don't you want to be like us? I'd rather be shot. Draw and quarter my ass like it's medieval England. Just say. I hope this rule passes and that similar rules to ban such practices for other minorities, such as LGBTQ plus persons, are also instated. How about leave us vulnerable minorities the fuck alone and maybe focus a little bit more on your lives instead of trying to police ours? Just a thought. This idea I had, Can't be having ideas, Tip. Didn't you know you're a chick? Sorry. Alright, we're going to go ahead and read this one next. I'm going to try to get it right, just read it straight through, but I know, famous last words. The context of this comment is that I am an autistic adult in graduate school for MA in clinical psychology. My goal as a therapist is to make sure any child in my care will have a better childhood than I did because I was abused rather than helped for my autistic behaviors when I was small. There is a large portion of us who end up going into this work because of how we were treated as kids. I am one of those individuals. Hi, how you doing? There are others who became advocates like me or who have actually gone into the medical field in some capacity, whether it's on the service side or whether it's more on the more medical side of it. A lot of us, due to how horrifically we have been treated, have gone into the service system in one shape, way, or form or capacity in order to try to start slowly changing things from within. And don't get me wrong, we have changed a lot, but we have a lot of people who have an agenda to turn every single thing back around, all the way back to before the 1950s, faster than we can blink or respond. There are so many things that they are cutting from us that it is literally difficult to keep up. That's why a lot of us go into the service system. That's why when even some of us eventually leave the service system, as I did, We are still advocating. We are still involved 110% every day because we don't want the next generation to have to suffer the same shit we did. We want them to be less traumatized than us, not more traumatized. Let me continue. Like I said, famous last words, right? We know that treating dogs with aversive stimuli, electric shocks, does not work to produce anything but fear. And yet, despite our knowledge that shocks do not work to produce anything but fear and anxiety, we use electric shock training on humans whom we deem subhuman in an attempt to destroy behaviors those people were born with. Or as I prefer to say, factory default setting. Or destroys behaviors which are a direct result of the fear and anxiety implanted into those individuals by the institutions they are residents of. Speak on it. It is inhumane, a word which should never have to be used when talking about our treatment of fellow humans, and does not work. It is continued to use as torture and degrade the legitimacy of autistic people as people rather than people like animals. Boom. Cognitive behavioral therapy, social support systems, and in extreme cases, antipsychotics or other mood stabilizers are always the better option over electrifying humans. I will note that yes, antipsychotic and other mood stabilizer use in psychiatric facilities is rampant and overindulged towards the goal of sedating patients or otherwise making them easier to handle. It is not a targeting laser, but rather a shotgun shell to a plaster wall and hoping the wall works better afterwards. But antipsychotic use is better than the physical pain devices by a long, long mile. Tiffany, JRC or your Paxil? I'm going to take the Paxil, and I'm going to wonder why you're an idiot for even asking me that question. Most of us would. Pill or torture? Which one would you all choose? Alright, we're going to read one more, and that will be it for today. Pardon me. Alright, this one's short and sweet. It's a pretty good rule. I mean, I'm autistic, and I like not getting shocked and treated like an animal. Same, bro. Same. We're going to go ahead and close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. If you guys would be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments, and make sure you're still set up to receive notifications. We're coming back on Saturday with another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole, and on Sunday with another episode of the Snake Oil Salesman series. We do not want you missing anything. I do appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. And now it is time to enact my pseudo-autistic bubble of nope, cue the nice silent movie I'm going to watch, and figure out what I want for dinner. I hope you all have a good one. Bye-bye now.